This is Women's Profile you tuned to. My next guest will be Aunty Heather Castledine, but before that we had that song Ngangara Gurija, my song by Sheila Morris and the Burulal Song Women. Nang Ngambala Wijili Wunungu, the Song People Sessions it's called. And my guest is Aunty Heather Castledine. Welcome to the program, Aunty Heather.
Thank you.
Now, Aunty Heather is the Aboriginal Co-Chair of Reconciliation Queensland Incorporated and Logan Aboriginal Elder. Thank you for coming in today, Aunty Heather.
My pleasure.
Now, I met you on Saturday at the Cultures in Harmony event, and I represented the Pacifica Women's Alliance, PWA, as a representative there, and you were at the Cultures in Harmony event 2019. Can you explain to me what the significance of that Cultures in Harmony was or is?
Well, 10 years ago, there was a riot in Logan in Douglas Street, and the Logan elders decided to get together with the Pacifica elders in the community and see how we could work out how our cultural groups could work together. And that's when we created Songs of Peace, and that was bringing choirs together from all the different church groups. And from that it's now bloomed into Cultures in Harmony, and we have a festival in the park. So it was a wonderful day on Saturday. I really, really enjoyed it.
So did I, and there was a smoking ceremony performance as well?
That certainly drew a lot of people in. They hadn't seen that, and it was wonderful to have it in that particular park where so much sorry business has happened there, for not only for our people but also for other people as well.
So you say this event used to be called Songs of Peace?
Yes. And we used to have it in some of the church halls or in community halls, where now we decided we'd bring it out into the community so we could get more people involved in it. And I sort of believe that it really worked well on Saturday because it was the first time we held it like that.
All right. So where did you have it last year?
Last year we had it at the Seniors Hall up on Jacaranda Avenue, and the hall was packed and people were standing outside. It was that crowded. So this year I think we got double the amount of people that we would have had there. So it was really wonderful to see not only the Aboriginal students and that performing, but it was also lovely to see all the different cultures coming together and performing and showing their cultures and being very proud of who they are.
So Logan is a very multicultural society, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I certainly agree. I was at Ethnic Leaders Forum last night, and they said there's 217 cultures in Logan, and that was a combination with Access, the community, ethnic leaders and Logan City Council coming together to figure out how we can work through some of the problems in the community of Logan.
So this Cultures in Harmony was hosted by Multilink Community Service Inc. together with Logan District Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Corporation for Elders, Logan City Council, the Queensland Government and the Salvation Army Communities for Children facilitating partner.
Yeah, and also Reconciliation Queensland. We've been involved in it since the beginning. So, and each one of those groups have been involved in some way, not only in putting it together, but helping us to be able to put the events on through funds and that as well. So it is a really coming together as people in the community working together.
So how long have you been living in Logan now?
I came to Logan 17 years ago. Because before that I used to be a cook in the outback, and one of my elders told me it was time for me to put back something to my community, and that was when I went away to uni and got my degree in social work. And of all things, of all places to end up in, I thought I'd be somewhere else like Toowoomba, and I ended up in Logan City, and I absolutely love living there and working there in child and youth mental health.
I could see that you were well received by all the people that came in. You said hello to them, and the public and even the Indigenous community members were all saying hello, Auntie, and that. So that was very nice to see.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable, particularly watching our young ones grow and develop as they come through. And it's really wonderful that they're actually participating in events like the ones we have in Logan.
Now, it says here that you also have worked with the belief of bridging the gap, understanding with reconciliation in her heart and growing as equals as together as one. And you believe in reconciliation and considers that we need to develop an understanding of all cultures.
I believe that very muchly so myself, because not only am I of Aboriginal descent, I'm also of German and Maori descent, and we need to understand who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. And for our kids, it doesn't matter where we live in our society, we need to understand the people around us, because in the beginning we were all together in one family group and we didn't touch out and reach out. And I think now we really need to do that, and we need to encourage our young ones to be part of the growing society we have.
Great. We shall now take a break, listen to a song called Changes by Emma Donovan, and be back for more with Aunty Heather. This is Women's Profile you tuned to. My guest is Aunty Heather Castledine, who's a proud Maori Aboriginal woman born into a Hooper family at St. George and raised in Charville on the bank of the Warrego River. Aunty Heather's family, Kent, moved from her tribal country to follow her work from her father, Joe Kent. As a younger person, Aunty Heather worked in the outback for 27 years, as she said, on cattle and sheep stations, sharing sheds and earth-moving camps at the back of Burke. While studying at the university for her bachelor degree, she was carer for her ex-husband for a number of years, who had a mental health disorder or disability, which gave her experience of the other side of mental disorders. Now, Auntie, you're a co-chair. Can you explain what that involves of the Reconciliation Queensland Incorporated?
Reconciliation Queensland was established, and they decided to have equal rights throughout the organisation. We have a non-Indigenous chair at the moment called Peter Jackson, who's been there just as long as I have, and myself. And we have on the board, we have an equal amount of non-Indigenous people and Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander people on the board itself. So we work together and try to bring an understanding around reconciliation and how we can do that in the community. And I think it's really great, because we have all these fun events and we talk to interesting people, and we're able to walk and talk about how we can live together and work together in cultural harmony.
So you use the word walk together as well, and I just want to bring in the Boundary to Boundary Street walk that's happening tomorrow. You want to explain what's happening there?
The Boundary Street walk was initiated on the anniversary of the apology, and we wanted to celebrate that in the first year. So we would hold the Boundary to Boundary Street walks from Spring Hill over to West End, and then we figured it was too many storms and cyclone season at that time of year, and one year we had to cancel it. So we thought, well, we better seriously think about how we can still do this. People still have lots of fun, and people do on the walk. So now we're at National World Indigenous Day, and it works very well there. The weather's so lovely, so sunny, and we have such a good time. We encourage people to come along, bring their children along, and to walk with us, and just have fun on the day and listen to some good music and speakers afterwards.
So who are the musicians and who are the speakers?
This year we've got the Songlines Choir coming along to perform for us, and there's another group from Anala called Singing Our Songlines group as well. So they'll be there. We'll also have Torres Strait Islander dancers there as well, and their group, as well as we've got a young Dig player coming through who is very good, Reese, and we're looking forward to hearing him, because he'll walk with the group from St. James's School at Spring Hill across to Bunyappa Park, and then we'll have a smoking ceremony there with Uncle Joe Kirk, and a welcoming for everybody to come in and sit down, relax, have a sausage sizzle, some fruit and something to drink, and just enjoy a couple of hours before everybody gets home before it's dark.
When does it start again?
We gather at 1 o'clock at St. James's School. The walk will start definitely at 2 p.m. and head down to Adelaide Street. They'll walk along Adelaide Street down to the Treasury casino where we will have another little bit of ditch playing, walk across the bridges and down to Vulture Street and across and to Bunyappa Park, which is near the end, just outside the boundaries.
Aunty, can I ask a question? Boundary. Now, to me, boundary means that's you can't cross it. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of the names of the streets for Boundary Street?
Boundary, it wasn't really named Boundary Street in the beginning. It was the boundary of the settlement here in Brisbane in the beginning. And there was a lot of rioting and disruption in the settlement at the time. Brisbane was settled, and they decided that at twilight people would be driven out of the city, including any servants or anybody like that wasn't of European descent. And that also included people like the Aboriginal people, the Chinese settlement as well, and that's why you find Chinatowns outside the boundaries of a city. And also, you know, it was a time when the Indian population was moving into Australia as well as the Afghan Cameleers and cultural groups like that. So they were all forced to leave the settlement and not return till sunrise the next day. And those laws still exist today, and I haven't found anybody that can tell me that those laws have been rescinded and they don't exist anymore. So right up until the 1960s, our aunties and uncles were still being stopped in the street on their way from the valley into the city and asked what they're doing, why are they going into the city after dark. So it's still there, and it worries me that it still exists, because in the end it doesn't matter what cultural group you are. If you're not of European descent, you can actually be forced by law to leave the boundaries of the city area, in the city area. So I hope one day that somebody can tell me that law doesn't exist anymore. And I'd really like to hear about it.
I'd like to see that one rescinded.
I certainly would too, because I think it's such a discriminative law that exists, because Australia has moved on and has become very multicultural in its society today. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed, and we all enjoy it and have a good time on our walk through the city.
So Boundary to Boundary Street, is it always August 10, or does it differ, the dates?
It differs. We try to have it on a Saturday or Sunday. Preferably, we're finding that Saturday works for us, and we're holding it in August now because of the weather situation, and it's not so hot and all those kinds of things, because we want people to enjoy themselves, feel comfortable, and feel that their kids can feel safe to come along and walk with them and show that they are proud of who they are and where they come from. And we hope other people will come along and show their support for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community as well.
So prior to the walk, there's a yarning circle that's happening?
The yarning circle will be on tonight, and it will be held at the Gap. You can go on to Reconciliation Queensland's website and see the address for that. And Aunty Denise Proud will be hosting that at her home, and it will and we'll be talking about truth and reconciliation with some of the elders that will be there for the event. And it starts after 5 p.m. and probably go through till about 8 tonight.
So this yarning circle will give walk participants an insight into the history surrounding the boundary streets of cities and towns in Queensland during early settlement by non-Indigenous people. Aboriginal elders will be invited to share their memories of the trauma that resulted from such policies.
Yes, that is so true. And, you know, we don't realise how some of our elders and our young ones as well have been affected by some of these things as well. Because working in child and youth mental health, I can see generational trauma as well coming down through our kids. So I think we need to sit in those circles, we need to talk, and we need to figure out how we can actually work together. Because, you know, it's very hard for an Aboriginal person as well, or a Torres Strait Islander person, to sometimes understand why European descendants think the way they do. You know, we're all great Aussies and it's really a fun land and everybody enjoys ourselves, but sometimes, as I seen in the Adam Good movie a couple of nights ago, that it does affect people, and we don't realise until we see movies like that these things do happen. So I think coming together, working together and understanding different people's cultures and understanding is very, very important.
Yeah, it's very important, isn't it? Like my daughter also saw that film, and she said she had a better understanding from looking at that film of Adam Gould's. He's an AFL player.
Yeah, it's so true. And you know what? That can happen to any cultural group. And we've seen that in recent months over the last couple of years when it's affected other cultural groups as well. Because we don't understand some things, like we don't understand how a Muslim society work and how, what needs to happen in that as well. So it's not only the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, it's everybody out there. Being a multicultural society is great and it's wonderful. I know where I live, it is wonderful. I can go and I can get stuff from the Chinese shop. I can go down to the Indian shop and buy ingredients and that, and I don't have to travel across the other side of the world. It's right here on my doorstep, and it's wonderful to be able to be involved and be able to meet and understand different cultures.
So Aunty Heather will be talking, will you be talking at Boundary to Boundary Street Walk as well, or will you be giving any speeches?
It depends if they give me the mic. I love talking and I love meeting people and I love trying to understand people as well. I'm a bit of a social animal when it comes to stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's good. So Boundary to Boundary Street Walk will be recognising their boundaries of exclusion from the settlement of Brisbane that was enforced on Indigenous peoples at Tuala during the 19th century. Do come along. It's tomorrow from 1 p.m. to register for a 2 p.m. start. It goes from St. James College on Boundary Street, Spring Hill, walking to Banyapa Park, West End. And there's a yarning circle tonight, talking together in truth and reconciliation, Friday night of August 29, 19, and it starts at 5 p.m. at Aunty Denise's Proud's home, 22 Sherman Street, The Gap. Before you go, can you elaborate on what you mean by you also attend a workshop on grief and loss, a women's workshop?
Because of the work I do as a Aboriginal mental health worker, I need to understand what it is and how I can help our families to overcome the grief and loss, because on a daily basis we have deaths in our community, we have sorry business, people getting very sick, particularly with drug and alcohol issues and that. So I need to be able to understand that and figure out how we can actually walk together in harmony together and to help people understand that. And that's why each year I attend the First Nations Elders Knowledge forum they have up at Sanford each year, so I can talk to the other elders and figure out how they work and what we can do for the future.
Well, thank you very much, Aunty Heather, for your time today. And I just want to read from the website. Aunty Heather has always worked with the belief of bridging the gap, understanding with reconciliation in her heart, and growing as equals together as one. She believes in reconciliations and considers that we need to develop an understanding of all cultures that make up the island we call our country of Australia, that we love and want to share with the world. Not just one culture, but many. She says we must remember that the first settlers to come to this land were the stolen generations of England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales, removed because of criminal offences to their culture. They were sent here for life, not only their lives but for their descents in countries so alien to their homeland and placed with culture so different from their own culture society. Aunty Heather says we need to join together and take time to respect and understand who we are and where to from here. Thank you very much, Aunty Heather.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we shall go out with this song called Alice Sky, Friends with Feelings. And I'd like to thank Aunty Heather, and do go along for the Boundary to Boundary Street Walk tomorrow at 1 p.m.